The number one trick to stop insulin resistance. Fat cells don't just grow because of the calories or the carbs that you eat. They only grow larger when there are high levels of insulin. Even small rises in insulin completely shut off fat burning. In other words, it's physically impossible to gain fat in the body without it. So to lose weight, we know that we have to lower insulin levels. Many people turn to fasting or low-carb eating, which is an effective way to do this and to burn fat. But other people can find this very difficult, dealing with the withdrawal symptoms from carbs like brain fog, feeling starving, or falling off the wagon and binge eating again later. But what if there were some other, smarter ways to lower insulin without giving up all the foods that you enjoy? Today, I'll be showing you how to lower insulin for maximum weight loss gradually without doing hardcore fasting. And it all starts with this simple trick, a byproduct from sugar called blackstrap molasses. A human trial published in the European Journal of Nutrition found that when people took a small amount of filtered cane molasses right before a starchy meal, their blood sugar and insulin rose 5 to 20% less afterwards. Incredibly, this means that molasses slows down how quickly starch turns into sugar in your body. So your pancreas doesn't need to push out as much insulin for digesting the same food, making it easier for your body to burn the fat when it needs to. The effect was actually stronger in people who were more metabolically damaged or those who had insulin resistance. But I must stress, it's very important not to take too much of this, as it does still contain sugar, which will raise insulin if you do it in high amounts. So how can you use this without overdoing it? Eat a half to 1 tablespoon of dark blackstrap molasses no earlier than 5 minutes before eating a starchy afternoon meal to naturally reduce the amount of insulin your body makes instantly. Molasses is a thick, syrupy byproduct which is left over after sugar crystals are made from sugarcane or beets. And unlike regular sugar, blackstrap molasses contains a variety of different nutrients and polyphenols, which actually slow down how quickly the starchy carbohydrates turn into blood sugar in your intestines. Meaning you can enjoy a carby meal occasionally with perhaps some rice, potatoes or starch whilst lowering the amount of insulin that your body makes. However, do not go above 1 tablespoon as the sugar within it will outweigh its benefit. Unlike other types of sugar, molasses is considered to be more of a whole food and therefore has a much healthier effect on the body when used in small amounts. But I do caution you, it is important to not eat molasses with dinner in the evening. It is much better to eat starch or molasses during the day when you can burn off that energy than at night. A study showed that eating later in the day led to higher glucose and insulin levels because we naturally become more insulin resistant at night time, meaning that we will store more fat from the same meal. If you take molasses with your dinner, it can also delay digestion a little too long, which could interrupt your sleep. So as a golden rule, if you ever consume molasses, afternoon is the best time to do so. This simple timing trick means you'll actually use that glucose as energy instead of storing it as fat. So, by controlling when you eat and how your body releases insulin, you can help to keep fat burning switched on all day long. And beyond molasses, did you know that you can also lower insulin by simply eating in a different order? Even if you eat the exact same meal, you can reduce the amount of insulin in your body by up to 40%, which is astonishing. A human study in diabetes care found that people who ate protein and vegetables before eating starchy carbohydrates had up to 40% lower blood sugar and insulin spikes after the same meal. You see, protein helps to trigger hormones like glucagon and GLP-1, which naturally help to balance insulin and slow down how quickly the foods break down into sugar and enter your blood. So the next time you eat your protein first, then your vegetables, and save your carbs for last. If you also add a little soluble fiber from foods like avocado, chia seeds, or okra, you'll slow digestion down even more and keep your insulin flat for hours. It's a very simple trick, but consistently eating in this order over time helps to keep your body in fat burning mode even after you've eaten. But let's go even further using some natural spices to lower insulin even more. Another way to reduce insulin levels for faster weight loss is by helping your body to need less of it in the first place. So what do I mean? For example, cinnamon has been shown to activate insulin receptors, helping to move sugar from the blood into your cells. This means that the beta cells in your pancreas don't have to release as much fat-storing insulin, making it much easier to lose weight. A good option is to mix a half a teaspoon of cinnamon into your morning coffee. It helps to blunt any insulin spike that you may get from caffeine whilst adding antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds that target visceral belly fat. Be sure to use Ceylon cinnamon, which has far less coumarin than cassia cinnamon and is much gentler on your liver for daily use. Now, turmeric works in a similar way. Its active compound curcumin directly protects the beta cells in the pancreas and reduces inflammation that drives insulin resistance. Try sprinkling some of this over some grilled meats or vegetables for a steady metabolic boost. And here's another simple way to flatten insulin spikes even more. 15 minutes before eating a meal that contains carbs or starch, drinking 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar with a squeeze of lemon juice in a tall glass of water can make an enormous difference to insulin levels. One study found that when people consumed vinegar before eating a high-carb meal, their blood sugar levels actually rose about 30% less afterwards. By the way, you can use any type of vinegar you like for this because the key ingredient is the acetic acid. Vinegar works by slowing down the enzymes that convert starch into sugar, and it also helps your muscles absorb more glucose without needing as much insulin. Your body also converts the acetic acid from the vinegar into ketones, which directly feed your cells, especially in your brain, with energy, making you feel less hungry and much less likely to crave insulin-rising snacks for long-term sustainable weight loss. But now let's get to one of the most important ways to lower insulin of all. It's all about timing your first meal of the day. When you wake up, your body naturally releases cortisol, the hormone that gives you energy and raises your blood sugar to get you up and moving. But cortisol can also make your body temporarily more insulin resistant, especially within the first 1 to 2 hours of waking up. Studies show that cortisol levels are 2 to 3 times higher in the morning, meaning that if you eat straight away, especially with something high in starch or carbs like oatmeal, cornflakes, milk, bread or cereal, your insulin will spike much higher than it would have done later in the day, completely blocking fat burning. So what is the simple solution to this? Wait around 60 to 90 minutes after waking up before eating anything or consuming your first meal. This gives cortisol time to settle, so your body becomes more insulin sensitive and ready to burn food and fat. During that period, you could start your morning with a glass of water and a tiny pinch of sea salt. This will restore electrolytes, calm down your nervous system and lower cortisol naturally. I also suggest a single cup of tea brewed with a herb called lemon balm steeped for 8 minutes. This herbal drink has been shown in studies to lower cortisol and ease both physical and mental stress. If you're like me and you would like to drink a coffee or a tea, make sure to avoid any type of sugar, milk or cream in the morning, which will raise your insulin. So just so I'm not losing you here, at this point we're already lowering insulin naturally by avoiding food and calories for the first 60 to 90 minutes after waking up. We're drinking vinegar with lemon water before meals to slow down how fast starch turns into sugar. We're adding insulin-lowering spices like cinnamon and turmeric into the mix. eating protein and vegetables before carbs to flatten out glucose spikes, and we're using just 1 tablespoon of molasses before your afternoon meal to support the pancreas and steady the blood sugar. All of these habits will compound together. You are building a routine that supports sustainable, long-term weight loss by improving insulin sensitivity. But we must not forget about one of the most important pieces of this puzzle. Did you know that your body burns a higher percentage of fat while you sleep than during the day? When you enter deep sleep, insulin levels drop and growth hormone rises, creating the perfect environment for fat burning. Studies show that your body can use between 50 to 70% of its energy from stored fat whilst you rest. But you only unlock this fat burning window when you have good quality sleep that's long enough for your hormones to reset. Another study found that sleeping for less than 6 hours per night can reduce insulin sensitivity by up to 40% the next day and raise cortisol, meaning that it's almost twice as hard to lose weight in the day when you didn't sleep enough the night before. So one of the easiest ways to sleep better is by taking some magnesium glycinate before bed and by keeping your room cool and as dark as possible to trigger the sleep hormones. Aim for at least 7 to 8 hours each night, as this will help to reset your hormone cycles going forward. If you're a person who finds that waking up to pee is ruining your sleep, watch my next video on screen now on how to sleep for 8 hours straight by using 3 grams of glycine. Thank you for watching as always, and I wish you great health, wealth, and happiness.